Hello, Vulcan Flick. It's nice to see you today. I hope you're having a great day. The world's chugging along, and I'm still drowning in information and trying to figure out my small part in this ongoing saga of making efforts to start conversations about alternative ways of running our global socioeconomic system, using the foundation of the Zeitgeist movement and some of the work that Peter Josephs has done with other people and works that he's referred to. He's just a jumping off point. There is lots and lots of information out there, lots of great books that could point you in a different direction. But, you're going to have to uh, get out of the circus and go and look at some other things in order to figure that out. Let me shut off the aircon. This is an echoey room, as you can tell, and so I sometimes forget to turn off the air conditioning. In Hong Kong, it's quite hot in the summer and humid, and you really need an air conditioner. And so we need energy to operate air conditioning, obviously. And we have two coal power plants in Hong Kong, as well as many more in China. You know, we get our energy from fossil fuels. We all know that. We all know that this set of living arrangements was made possible by fossil fuels, and so, that's fine. It's like when people criticize Bernie Sanders because he has $1 million. You know, I mean, you can make a living and still have principles that are different from being a dogwood capitalist, a hedge fund manager, a hostile takeover firm artist, a con man, a thief, a liar. you can you can make a living. We all live here, obviously, so we have to fit into this system in one way or another. Doesn't mean we can't think about something else. What if we did things differently? Can you imagine that? That's the whole thing. That's the exercise. Keep asking yourself. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I promise you this, there is no doubt in my mind that in a short few years, everybody is going to be under pressure to come up with something different than what we have now. Even though what we have now is a gas, right? It's a lot of fun. And, legal marijuana might be fun, and, other things might be fun, but we're going to have to pay for all this. And we can't pay for it with money. We're going to have to pay for it with our lives, our efforts. That's just a fact. So I get up in the morning every day. I go through the news. I go deep into my filter bubble. And the algorithms know me quite well. Of course they do, because I'm quite active online. And I look through my news feeds and I watch this crazy thing. So I'm writing something for the blog, and it says news from the TMZ filter bubble, because I think of things in this train of thought and have for a long time, even before Peter existed in my brain. I had other people like Buckminster Fuller and other people besides that. Anyway, every morning I get up before the sun rises and check my news feeds. I have broad interests, but primarily I'm interested. I'm a witness, like you are, whether you know it or not, of a train wreck in slow motion. I can't remember where I heard this, but it's stuck in my head. Climate change is a nuclear war in slow motion. Well, obviously you know about nuclear winter, so if we had actual nuclear war, we would put so many particulates up into the upper atmosphere that we would soon have a nuclear winter. So it wouldn't be global warming we'd be worried about. It would be climate change nonetheless. And it probably would kill us all because of the radiation fallout and whatnot. But that's a different story. It's a metaphor, people. Think of the chemical experiment we're running and its potential consequences to our civilization and our ecosystem. And that chemical experiment is just using a heck of a lot of fossil fuels and putting carbon into the atmosphere that acts like a blanket. You know the story. I don't have to go into that. You're all experts by now. And if you want to turn away from it and hide from it, that's a big mistake. Because one way or another, you should be preparing yourself for the consequences. And they're coming fast. And we have no idea how rapid climate change is going to happen. But it will affect everything. So you can't hide. You can move away from the coast, as the politicians like to say. Oh, are you too stupid to sell your house and move? Well, people do move. It's called migration and immigration. And a lot of people don't like it. So if you leave the coast of North Carolina and go into Tennessee or somewhere, there may be a lot of people with guns there that don't really want to have you as their neighbor. You know what I mean? It's not that easy. Well, I'm smart because I'm rich, and I bought an estate in New Zealand 10 years ago, and we have great caches of supplies down there, so I'm ready to roll. We also have a beautiful yacht. It's called the Getaway. And, we'll use it to get away when the time is right. Yeah, okay, great. You're the boss. You're really cool. Anyway, this whole experiment could really cost every one of us. We're cleverly, collectively splitting the atom. Again, another metaphor. In a ballet of death by 1,000 micro cuts, might as well say micro, we all push the button every single day. I do. I just push the button to shut off my air conditioning. Wow, I'm saving the world. I don't buy plastic spoons anymore. We all know how to greenwash. It makes us feel good. And I'm not blaming anybody, because we're all in this together. We couldn't help it. We were born into this thing. We learned how to be good, dutiful consumers, which is what we do. I'm not saying any of us as an individual is to blame. We're not. But we are all sleepwalking into disaster. We also seem to think that it's someone else's job to fix everything that ails us. Think about it. If you get sick, you go to the doctor and you get a prescription. If the economy or government services aren't to your liking, you vote for someone and assume they'll fight for you. If not, they'll solve the problem. Scientists and engineers have the fix. All you need is the right school, a good teacher, a good education, or a good idea, and everything will fall neatly into place. Well, I'm here to tell you that if you are paying attention, you should know by now that the significant things ailing society are not getting any better. Despite what Steven Pinker says about the progress, you have to look at the kind of progress and the true cost of that progress. It's a little bit complicated, but if you delve a little bit, you may realize that, we have to do something else. Anyway. And I know I repeat myself, one must focus one's attention on details to understand the meaning of the picture. That's all I'm saying. And yeah, you have to be repetitive because I want you to look. I want you to look. I want you to read those books. It's not a cult. It's not a religion. It's not the Bible. It's just a good resource, a good jumping off place to redirect your train of thought. There's nobody paying me to do this. I get no benefit out of it. Nobody down the pub wants to talk to me about any of this shit. Okay? That's why I'm here talking to you. And I've got good favorite links at globehackers.com if you want to see podcasts and other websites that we frequent. You can go and have a look there. A lot of good resources. Anyway, we can't consume our way into a healthier world. Health experts are now talking about health span rather than lifespan as a way of gauging one's quality of life. Our ecosystem is not getting more robust. We are not getting happier. At some point in our consumer economy's systems of abuse cycles, the systems that support our civilization will break down. When that occurs, it will happen fast, and there will be hell to pay for that. The thing is, it isn't getting better. That's a fact. You can't sit through the sixth extinction and say, oh, global habitat's just fine. We don't need those plants and animals. We can kill our, environment and we'll be just fine. I mean, maybe the singularity's coming just around the corner. We're all going to be machines and have some kind of forever energy battery that runs us and some neural network or something. That's fun for movies, people. It's not going to happen. We need time. So we have to fix this place. We're not going to go to Mars and live in caves, okay? We need spaceship Earth, and we have to maintain it to keep it healthy and sustainable. You gotta hug some trees. You gotta appreciate the web of life. You depend on it, whether you think you do or not. It's not just your salary and your check that you depend on, although it's easy to think that way, because without a salary, you can't live in this world right now. But it doesn't have to be that way. So what's in the news? I watched a Professor Wolf talk about different kinds of socialism from a historical and contemporary point of view. One might as well educate oneself on the subject. Education is rarely fatal. It's not going to kill you. We must go further, of course, towards a system described by the Zeitgeist movement, in my opinion. It doesn't have to be that exact thing, because that exact thing isn't an exact thing anyway. It's just a way of thinking about the world that's different. We have to run spaceship Earth in an efficient way for the benefit of life on Earth. We must employ 21st century solutions. We have to build the ultimate sharing economy. And what's wrong with that? A sharing economy. You mean I don't have to have my own power tools? I can go down to the maker place or the warehouse and check out someplace where I can build some furniture? Wow, would that be so bad? And maybe there'd be people there to help teach me how to build some furniture. I think that'd be cool. I also think it'd be cool if we could just switch what we do and engage in from time to time, instead of having our identity all wrapped up in our work. I'm a blacksmith, don't you know? Or, I'm a clerk at a bank, don't you know? Or I bag groceries, don't you know? Or I'm a big shot lawyer, don't you know? And I'm affiliated with this particular firm, don't you know? Or I'm a zombie, don't you know? Or I'm a zombie killer, don't you know? Or I work for the NCIS and I always get my man within 50 minutes, don't you know? Psychopaths, killers, diseases. Just look at TV, people. I mean, that's what we're obsessed with. Okay, from the ecologist.org, billions of pounds of British taxpayer money is supporting fossil fuel energy schemes around the world, undermining the UK's commitment to tackle climate breakdown, MPs said. UK Export Finance, UKEF, which provides loans, insurance, and guarantees for firms operating overseas, gave $2.5 billion to fossil fuel projects between 2013 and 2014 and 2017 to 2018. That's a lot of moolah. And, they're getting paid, they're making money. But your taxpayer dollars are going into that. That's what I mean when I say we all push the button every single day. And until we get off this train and onto a new train, we're going to be button pushers. And that's a nuclear war in slow motion. That's what I mean. The Commons Environmental Audit Committee, EAC, the Commons Environmental Audit Committee, called on the government to end support for new fossil fuel energy products by 2021. Whoa, wouldn't that be great if they could do that? 30 years too late, in my opinion. But it's always fun when we have these things, in the news where we're going to do something by something. Who says we're going to do something by something? You believe them? You think it's just going to happen like that? I don't think so. I got a house guest here. I'm recording. From blogs scientificamerican.com. We need to get serious about critical materials. The U.S. is 100% import reliant on 14 minerals and metals that are essential for defense technologies, consumer goods, and clean energy technology, and 50% or more reliant for another 30, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. These numbers go beyond the recent headlines on rare earths to illustrate fundamental building blocks of the energy transition. Wow. Lithium, cobalt, and nickel for batteries, and materials for solar power and wind turbines. In many of these areas, China has become the dominant world player. The issue is not geological resource constraints, but on whether domestic focus on mining, production, processing, and manufacturing should be prioritized. So, if you bring back, the mining and the manufacturing to a local level, then you have to pay the true price of those activities in terms of, destruction to the environment, in terms of land use, in terms of all kinds of things. So we're very happy to outsource that to China because they have plenty of room to do that and they'll do it. And then we don't have to pay the cost. We can import it cheaply and use it to build our war machines and do our technology whatnots, build our consumer goods. The article underlies the necessity, again, to produce for good rather than for war or ruthless financial competition. It also makes clear that the price factors arising from our current economic system don't take into account externalities or harmful effects due to communities around the world, is what I'm saying. The U.S. gets its rare earths from China not because they are rare, but because the U.S. doesn't want to pay the actual cost of producing them. That's something to understand. If we're going to bring back, restart local, manufacturing or industry, we have to understand what it's being used for and how it's being used, what it supports and how it supports it. If it's just for profit, it's not going to work. Then I stumbled upon a quote by Yuval Noah Harari. I'm sure you're all familiar, but there will be links. Nothing captures the biological argument better than the famous New Age slogan, "Happiness begins within." Money, social status, plastic surgery, beautiful houses, powerful positions, none of these will bring you happiness. Lasting happiness only comes from serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. You all know how to. That's great, because stimulus from outside in our world through our relationships stimulate our brains that create these hormones, and those hormones make us feel happy. You can take drugs to get that, but it's not the same. So study these hormones and study where they come from. Okay? And then you'll know what happiness is. That's fantastic. I love it. Okay, from the BBC, more than 220 million tons of plastic was produced globally in 2015, over 40% of which was single use. Recycling helps to tackle the problem. But as Hugh Fernley, Winningstall, and Anita Rani explained in BBC's One's War on Plastic, the plastic you put in a recycling bin doesn't always get recycled. No kidding. Now we're starting to hear about the effect of plastic in the oceans and garbage, and sending our garbage to Malaysia, and they send it back to Canada. This all requires oil and energy, of course. So we're just kind of like, hey, dude, I want to make your backyard my landfill, okay? You get that? All right? I can pay for it. Why do we throw away so much plastic? Why are things designed to fall apart after 2 years? Why is almost everything we consume destined for a landfill? It's because our current model is based on consumerism and earning profits and not about any other form of utility. Lots on that in those books, in that train of thought. And it's not rocket science, and it's not like created out of thin air. There was a lot in the news today, but about the opioid crisis. Companies may have to go bankrupt due to court cases. I cry. But that won't stop the demand for drugs. Supplies of legal and illegal drugs come from all over the world, and supplies will continue to flow as long as people feel the need to numb themselves and create a society that allows people to live. And, as long as you need to be numb and block out what's going on in the world, you're never going to be healthy and happy and doing the right things that are going to make you feel better. So you can blame it on the Chinese or the Afghanis or the Mexicans or the South Americans or whatever. But who's consuming them and why? Are we ever going to treat the real problem, addiction? Are we going to create a better rat Disneyland for ourselves so we don't feel so alienated and depressed that we have to take drugs and drink alcohol all the time? I mean, it's a public health issue, people. We're not doing right by one another if there's so much consumption of drugs. And it's not just poor black people or Latino people or poor white trash that do drugs. It's lawyers and doctors and dentists and professors and factory workers and everybody you can imagine. Real estate agents. Come on. You know this. So we really have to get busy looking at the causes of our problems, because at the moment, even though you think everything is perfect and wonderful, when this thing unravels and finally falls apart, it's going to touch all of us. So we had better get busy. At least we can train our minds. At least we can be aware of what's coming down the pike, and we can prepare ourselves spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, physically to deal with it when it happens. Otherwise, you're just going to panic. And who likes to panic? It's a horrible thing. Anyway, Volkenflick. Beautiful day. It's rainy here, but still a beautiful day. Everything's working. Thank you, everyone, for making that possible. And I look forward to talking to you again. Bouillon tea out.